Good afternoon. Today we are in Kazan at our client, the developer KamaStroyInvest. We have developed an interactive sales tool for their new residential complex, Rivayat. And now I will show you how this tool works. When we approach the screen, even before we start the presentation, before the interactive tool displays its full interface, there are menu items available here that a potential buyer can use without the manager's assistance. For example, there is a section about the project. This is an auto presentation that we set up using the marketing materials provided to us by the client. Here, by selecting different points, you can automatically view and read information about the future residential complex. For example, here we are told about the entrances. If we press the button, we will move on and be able to read about the finishing materials. Next, we will look at the entire property, the finishing options for the next phase, and also about the entrances. Information about the developer is also available here. This is an important image component that needs to be conveyed to potential future buyers. Here we talked about how long the company has been on the market, which residential complexes it has already completed, and what its future plans are. But of course, we are interested in examining everything in the finest detail. That's exactly why we need to start a session. When we start a session, the application will prompt us to enter the potential buyer's phone number. This is necessary so that information about the upcoming presentation is entered into the developer's CRM system. We will click Start Session. I will enter my phone number so that later we can see how we will send the commercial offer. We click the Continue button on the second screen. The application will ask for my name. I enter my name and my email address so that later the commercial offer we create during the presentation will be sent to this email. And we select the manager to whom this consultation will be assigned. We will choose Elena Grishina and we click Start Presentation. When we click the Start Presentation button, three things happened without us noticing. First, the lead we created was sent to the CRM system. Second, analytics collection for the presentation began. In other words, we will be able to see which apartments the potential buyer viewed, which window views they looked at, and which layouts they liked the most. And third, right now, we are starting to generate the commercial offer that will later be sent to the potential buyer. We begin the tour of the residential complex with the area's infrastructure. The radius for detailed infrastructure coverage in this project is 1,000 meters. This means that within a radius of 1,000 meters, the buildings look exactly as they do in real life. That is, they have their own size, their own texture, and are located in their actual places. Nevertheless, beyond the 1,000 meter radius, it's not just an empty field. The street grid is preserved, and the shape and size of the buildings are also maintained. They are simply represented as gray blocks. Even so, a resident of Kazan should still be able to easily recognize their hometown, even from these gray blocks. Our infrastructure menu includes aggregated points that we can click on to show what actually surrounds the residential complex. For example, sports facilities, cafes and restaurants, theaters and museums, parks and squares. We selected the cafes and restaurants point, and they are highlighted so that we can choose a specific point and read about it. Here we have the Beluga Cafe. It's a 10-minute walk 700 meters away. This doesn't mean that we only show infrastructure points within a 1,000 meter radius. We can increase the radius of walking accessibility, in this case up to 2,000 meters. And even in this case, it will show us the points we selected, for example, Mediana Food, that's 2,000 meters, 2 kilometers, and a 30-minute walk. If we narrow the radius, the points start to disappear. We can also display sports facilities, medical centers, shopping malls, and educational institutions. Kindergartens and schools are always relevant. If we like the infrastructure or want to remember where our residential complex is located, we can click the Take Screenshot button. The screenshot will be saved, and later, when we send a commercial offer by email, this screenshot will be sent along with the information about the selected apartments. We have now familiarized ourselves with the infrastructure. Now let's click on the Master Plan menu. We are getting closer to the residential complex, and here we can already take a look at the architecture of the complex, its layout, and its immediate landscaping. And for example, we can change the time of day simply by moving the time slider in order to see how the residential complex lights up in the evening, how its architectural lighting works, how the lights turn on, and how the walkways and park areas are illuminated. We will have 3 options for choosing an apartment for a potential buyer. The first option is the most natural one for a person. Simply walk to the apartment we would like to buy. In this case, we have a point, for example, the embankment. We can zoom in on it, view it from above, and enter a 3-dimensional virtual tour mode. When you first enter, you will be shown instructions on how the virtual tour works. After that, we will hide these instructions and they will no longer bother us. And since we have a fully interactive engine, this is not a pre-rendered 360-degree sphere. There is no so-called baked-in graphics here. We have complete freedom of movement. We can go wherever we want, look at the views that interest us, turn our gaze and see what the residential complex looks like from the embankment. And what is important is that we can walk to the residential complex we are interested in, climb the steps, stand on the corner, and appreciate, for example, the architecture. We really like the architecture as well. Let's take a screenshot so that later this screenshot will be sent to our email. Let's carefully cross the street. And since we have a completely seamless and uninterrupted environment, no switching between different tools, no loading or reloading at all, we can freely enter the first floor lobby and see in detail what the common area landscaping looks like in this particular case. We see a young woman at the reception desk who greets us warmly. But we want to get to the elevator lobby so that, just like in real life, we can go up to the floor we're interested in. We approach the elevator, the doors open, we step inside, and immediately the floor selection interface appears. Let's say we want to go up to the 3rd floor. And just like in real life, we go up to the 3rd floor, we step out and take a look at the common area, amenities, and we stroll around the floor. When we approach an apartment, we see an information card about it right next to the door. We know that this apartment is available. We know how much it costs. We pull this information from the developer's CRM system. And simply by stepping through the door, we can enter the apartment to take a virtual tour inside, check out its furnishings, its layout, and the view from the windows. We can walk up and see exactly what we'll be looking at from the windows. If we like the view, or if we just want to save it, we can take a screenshot in the same way, and it will be included in the commercial offer. And besides that, there is detailed information about the apartment. This includes a classic 2-dimensional floor plan, a floor layout, to understand which part of the residential complex the apartment is located in, its price, finishing options, and completion date. In short, any information about the apartment that needs to be added to make it easier for a potential buyer to decide on purchasing this unit. For example, if we like this apartment, we can add it to our favorites. Now we've just walked the path ourselves, and it's quite a long one. It's much faster to choose the perfect apartment using the master plan. This means we zoom in on the section we're interested in. We click on its icon and see that we're greeted by a floor selection menu. Next to each floor, we can see the number of apartments currently available for sale. We also get this information from the developer's CRM system. We can select a floor. We see the floor plan. On the floor plan, we can view the status of each apartment. We can see that this apartment is reserved, and we can also see that this apartment is not available for sale. In other words, it is currently closed for sale by the developer. And we can see all the apartments that are available for purchase on this particular floor plan. For example, let's say we're interested in a 2-room apartment with a view of the Volga. We zoom in on it, look at the layout from above, and can immerse ourselves in a 3-dimensional walkthrough to view it from a human perspective. We can also step out onto the spacious terrace to leisurely take in the truly impressive and breathtaking views and thoughtfully save them in our minds for a future commercial offer or presentation. Earlier, I showed you how the interactive installation works from the outside with the facades and how we light up the architectural illumination. But the interactive installation works even better inside the building. Here, we can select the time menu, and by moving the slider, watch how the sun's rays fill the apartment. Moreover, the sun is positioned at physically accurate coordinates. This means that we can say with a high degree of certainty that on the 9th floor, on one of the summer days, this is exactly how the sunlight will illuminate the space. It's very impressive. Moreover, this residential complex has a very large area of glazing. Here we have both morning sun and evening sun. Any sunlight you could possibly wish for can be shown with our interactive installation in real time. And just like in the previous apartment I showed you, there is detailed information about the apartment in the form of 2-dimensional floor plans. In addition, in this menu, you also have access to the option to select similar apartments. What does this mean? We can click on the similar apartments menu, and all the apartments available on the same riser, which are similar according to these parameters, will be listed in this table. Here we can see that there is only one similar apartment available for purchase in this residential complex, so there is just one row here. In another apartment, we will see how this works when there are more apartments available for purchase. We like this apartment as well, so we add it to our favorites in the same way. By the way, if we really like this apartment right now, we can reserve it directly from our product. We click reserve, a reservation form appears. My phone number, which we entered in the very first step, is already filled in here. Here you can see the first and last name of the manager who is consulting me. All we need to do is click on reserve, and this reservation will be sent to the developer's CRM system. We won't do this right now, so that we can create a full commercial offer at the end of our presentation. Let's go back to the master plan. Let's check. We have already found the apartment we're interested in using 2 different methods. We walked through it on foot, and we went through the apartments using the floor plan. And the third option, which is probably the fastest and most familiar, is to select an apartment using the parameter-based selector. Here, we simply set the parameters that we want our future apartment to meet. For example, we're looking for a 1-room apartment. We'll set the floor to not be the first, starting from the second. And the program gives us a sorted list of apartments that match our parameters. And the program has selected the options that meet our criteria. Moreover, here they are already grouped. This means that there are 4 apartments with exactly this layout available for sale. And for example, there is only 1 apartment left with this particular layout. We select a specific layout that we like, click Show Options, and the boxes with the available apartments for sale are highlighted directly on the facade. This is very convenient for us to quickly see which direction the windows face and on which floor the apartment we're interested in is located. Next, we can zoom in. For example, we're interested in the 10th floor. We click on it and the floor plan opens up. In the same way, we view the layout from above. We can click on a point, enter the apartment, and check out its amenities. On the left, you can see a mini map that accompanies us in every apartment. It shows exactly which room we are in, and where we are looking. In the same way, you can walk up to the window, check out the view, and take a screenshot. By the way, thanks to the Parametric Selector, we've ended up in a slightly different residential complex. The fact is that the developer has planned and is building 2 residential complexes at once on a single site where comprehensive development is taking place. And we show this. Here is Rivayat, which we got acquainted with earlier, and the residential complex 1712. Nevertheless, these 2 residential complexes exist within a single interactive scene, and you can select apartments you need in both complexes at once. And in the same way, we can view the architecture of the residential complex on the master plan. For example, in the 1712 residential complex, there are terraces that we can also immerse ourselves in, take a walk and see what the views will be like from the public areas of this residential complex. I also want to show an interesting feature specific to this residential complex. These are open glass panoramic elevators. To do this, we will click on the courtyard point and go to the courtyard. The courtyard here is also interesting. It is intimate and cozy. Nevertheless, all the necessary functional zones are located here for children, teenagers, and even adults. We can approach the elevator and it will come to us. We enter it and a floor selection menu will appear. Let's press the 5th floor. And we will go up to the 5th floor with an excellent view of the residential complex's intimate inner courtyard. And from here, we move on to the common areas. By the way, the developer has equipped the common areas with windows. This has also brought a lot of air and light into the common spaces, making them look impressive. And we also highlight this feature of the residential complex. And now we can freely enter any apartment to get acquainted with the views from the windows or its design. So we have used 3 different ways to select the apartment we would like to purchase. We walked through on foot, we chose an apartment using the floor plan, and we also selected an apartment using the Parametric Selector. We added these apartments to our favorites. Now it's time to get acquainted with the favorites interface. We click on the corresponding menu item and see all the apartments we previously added. We can rank the apartments, for example, from least liked to most liked. We can compare them by parameters. We can book them from here. And if, for instance, the consultation took a long time and we've already forgotten about an apartment we looked at first, we can go directly to that apartment from here, take another look at it, and refresh our memory. We can return to favorites. And for example, if we are more interested in this apartment, we can simply remove it from favorites. Now all that's left is to end the session. We click the End Session button. My email is already here, which I entered earlier. It's needed, I repeat, in order to send a commercial offer. And here there are 2 options. We can click the print button and then the commercial offer along with the screenshots will come out of the printer in the sales department. We'll put it in a branded folder and hand it to the client if it's important for the client to take something from the sales department physically. Or we can click the send button. And the interface will notify us that the selected layouts and the screenshots we took will be sent to my email. With that, the consultation is complete, and the only thing left for us to do is to press the auto presentation button so that the sales department always has a sense of interactivity, a lively picture, and there is no dull atmosphere. This is not a render, it's not a video clip. It's a specially designed camera trajectory that flies around the residential complex and creates a sense of movement in the sales office. That's all from me. I'm Vyacheslav Zernov, Product Director at GRAFF.estate. We develop interactive sales tools for real estate developers. See you in your city.